Hi, I'm Grant, CCP Delarge. I'm the brand director.
Hey, I'm Jamie, and I'm a producer on Vanguard.
We are here at EVE FanFest 2025. How exciting is it to be here with like the newest reveals and the newest details for Vanguard for the fans this year?
Well, for me, it's my first FanFest and first time in Iceland. So for me, it's been like incredible, and it's been great to meet the fans. We met someone who was cosplaying as one of our characters, which we hadn't seen before. So I got a picture with him, and yeah, I've been just enjoying myself. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, and like I was here in September 23 when we announced Vanguard with the live on stage demo. So that was pretty scary. Sweated a lot. This is a bit more. It's a bit more relaxed around this time. We're not doing a live PC demo on stage. But yeah, it's great to be back here. Like the FanFest is just a great coming together of the EVE universe and the community, and yeah, we're excited about what we're going to be showing attendees here, as well as those watching on the stream over the remainder of this weekend.
Here at EVE FanFest 2025, you guys are about to reveal the next big steps in the Vanguard journey. We have an event coming up in September, and then an early access release window set. How exciting has it been to get to this point? You've had play testing in the past, you've had small public access events, and now we're taking the next big step in this journey. And can you speak a little bit to what it took to get here and how it feels?
Early access summer 2026, direct and on Steam, and obviously before then, as you mentioned, the Nemesis event starting September 16th. It's going to be a big one, and as you said, like we've done since we announced FanFest 2023, we did a First Strike event in December, I believe, that same year, December 2023, and then we did 5 more, almost monthly, one a month, January through May, in 2025. In 2024. And then we did another one, Solstice event, in June. Then we had a bit of a break, and we had a groundbreaker event at the end of last year. That ran over November, December last year. So yeah, we've done a lot of play testing, a lot of playing internally, a lot of playing with behind closed doors with our founders groups, and a lot of, as you said, sort of more public play tests as well. All I can say is it's been amazing to see players getting hands-on with the game, giving us their feedback. Just like engaging with them and having them tell us what they think.
Yeah, so from the team's perspective, I think we're all just super excited for people to see what we've been working on. Because it's been a long time now since we by the time we get to September, it would have been almost a year since we had a big release to players. So yeah, there's just a huge amount of excitement. It feels like we're reaching a real kind of threshold now where we really feel like we have a game to share. Up to this point, we've been sort of showing off. We started from like in that first event. We really just had like the bare bones of a shooter, but now we're getting to the point now where we've really got like this fully fleshed out kind of game where people can really see what the vision is. I think even in September, people are really going to start to see like the grander vision for the game. So that's like super exciting because it's been in our heads for a long time, and we've been sort of promising it, and now I think we can finally start showing it.
Having played a little bit of it myself today, just seeing the ambitions that are there is exciting. Obviously the shooting is at the core of it, and I gotta say, you guys made a very impactful and good feeling shotgun, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
I love the ricochet aspect of it, where you could actually put some skill into maybe banking a shot around a corner. Also just the mining, the picking up inventory, crafting in the field, picking up contracts. All of this stuff is like it seems to be coming together in a way like it was always meant to be. Like the way it was pitched to us 2 years ago is like this experience that wasn't separate from EVE Online so much as like a parallel sister experience to it. And seeing that start to come together finally, like at this point, seeing all that start to sort of form up, how difficult has it been to like create those aspects and make sure that like this feels like a part of the EVE universe?
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult, and it is the challenge, and it is also the thing that we have that can't be copied. It's there's a ton of FPS games, and everyone is searching for their sort of identity and trying to create that something unique for players. And we're fortunate in a way that we have that sort of out the box. We have the kind of connection to Eve. We have that whole 20 years of lore and stories to draw from and to sort of leverage. So it is a challenge. It is like a responsibility, but it's also kind of what makes the project exciting. I mean, it's the reason I joined the project, and it's a lot of people that are on the Vanguard team joined because of the opportunity to work on a game within that universe and the sort of excitement and the opportunities it presents. But yeah,
I think like you were talking about it all coming together, right? It feels like it's coming together. The stuff we talked about a year and a half ago, now you're starting to really feel that. And I think there's a lot to be said about how the team have approached development. It's methodically, a little bit at a time, like building systems that allow to go deep over time. So having one gun in the game, for example, for a long period of time, a gun and a banana gun, and then their mining gun, a banana mining gun. But I think we got some flack from it, like you were sort of saying before, like it's paying dividends now, like that methodical way of developing a little bit at a time, building the framework for us to go deeper later. That's why it's, I think Jamie, you probably put this better when you talked about, the way we've approached that, the methodical approach.
Yeah, so for example, we showed off in, I think, Solstice, we showed off adaptive weaponry, so the ability to switch between two different weapon modes, and sort of, say for example, you could take your assault rifle into a super SMG direction in one mode, and then switch to a much more like power assault rifle in the second mode. And the great thing is, because we built that as a system rather than like a specific weapon, but when we start building a new weapon, like so now we're building the shotgun that you played, we can apply that adaptive weaponry system onto that shotgun, and now you can start customizing your shotgun. So so for example, the ricochet mechanic that you like, you could affect you could have you could have like a chipset that adjusts how powerful it is over distance, how fast the ricochet is. There's just a ton of stuff that you can adjust with that one little mechanic that pulls the shotgun in a slightly different direction. That shotgun also has like a sort of a secondary fire mode, so I don't know if you noticed, but when you ADS, it switches from like a more of a spread, sort of like it's sort of like the game designer describes it as like firing a bunch of tennis balls or a single basketball. So so like again, you could make that single basketball shot like super powerful, or you could really sort of adjust the spread to be wider or sort of narrower, or there's just, we can sort of change and adjust a lot of those variables using that system, and we can only do that because we built the system first. And so while there was a bunch of I think frustration from the player base and from within in the team about having just one weapon for so long, what we have now is this incredible ability to just flood content into that system and have a bunch of guns that have all this variability. And it's because of the approach that we're able to do that, and we're trying to take a similar approach to a lot of different aspects of the game. So rather than sort of flooding a bunch of content in, we're trying to build smart systems that we can then, once we have content, they work much better for us and much more valuable for us and for players.
It's such an interesting thing to see in Vanguard how much crafting there is in the field as you're actually in the battlefield doing what you need to do. As far as the customization and as far as just like loadouts and personalization of what you can do when you're in the field with your weapons, how difficult has it been to sort of create that sort of on-the-fly system where you can adjust as you collect inventory and bank it?
You sort of have everything at your disposal. You can craft anything. You can build anything now, right? But I think what we're going to start to do now is to sort of limit that a little bit, because I think right now you can craft. I think the way that we might do this going forward is make it so you'll sort of define some specific things that you can craft in a session, rather than being able to craft literally anything. So you'll choose in the front end, I want to be able to craft this kind of ammo, I want to be able to craft sort of this mining thing, and I want to be able to craft this deployable shield, and then those will be the things that you can then sort of build in the session. because I think at the minute, yeah, you're kind of just kind of seeing everything. So I think we will need to limit that a little bit, because ultimately we want to sort of start to not have classes in the game. That's not really the idea. But there will be like specific roles that people will take, and we want people to kind of commit to those roles before they commit. So say, I'm going to go in and be like a mining guy, and you're going to come with me, and you're going to be my sort of heavy that's going to defend me and sort of shoot people trying to take me down, and Grant's going to go off and scan for other sort of cool like mining deposits. And so we each have like our own roles, and so we'll kind of load out for that specific role rather than all of us being able to do everything at all times. So we'll make those decisions in the front end, and then when you go to the session, you'll be like more limited to what you can do, but you'll be able to like switch between you'll be able to switch between those roles in the front end.
It really does feel like it looks to me like a system that, much like EVE Online itself, it's built to promote sort of emergent gameplay and emergent experiences and an adaptation as you go, as opposed to like having you strictly tied down to one thing.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, weren't we, about Bastions and how Bastions will play into that. Because at the moment, probably from the beginning, we'll sort of be a little bit prescriptive about how Bastions are structured. But after a while, when we start getting player-created Bastions, you can imagine players will start deciding how they want to structure those, what the hierarchies will be, how the leadership's going to work within a Bastion, how they let people in, just like they do in EVE. So yeah, that's going to be like super interesting to see how that all plays out.
I think just on emergent gameplay, I think absolutely what you're saying. I think, but also like we do want to encourage emergent gameplay, and it's like this is sandbox MMOFPS, and so who knows what might happen. Being able to adapt to that on the fly to a degree, either as a solo or as part of a squad, I think is important.
And I do want to talk a little bit about the visual design of this, because I couldn't help on one of the maps looking up and seeing just a massive starfall of ship debris floating through the sky down towards the planet, and it was easy to get caught up in that. And I'm just curious, how do you approach everything from what you see on the ground to what you see up in the air when you're making the maps and scenarios for this game?
It's something that we think about all of the time, to be honest. It's like, how do we want to sort of suggest at all times at this much larger universe that's happening over your head. So, so the skybox is obviously a fantastic way to do that. So we've spent a lot of time since the last release. It's amazing the impact it had just adding a couple of ships into the sky, Like, it sounds like, and literally in the beginning we just pulled some old assets from EVE, just some sort of low poly assets, like just chuck them in the skybox, and just straight away it just feels different. You feel like, okay, there's something going on in the sky. And again, like any game can do that, right? Any FPS game can throw some spaceships in the sky and be like, oh, there's a battle happening up there, but we're the only FPS game where that can actually be connected to something real. One of the many things that we're sort of thinking about a lot to try and just to constantly remind players, like, hey, there's much more to this than even what's happening down here on the ground. And over time, we'll obviously start to add to and strengthen those ties. I was saying earlier, one of the things that someone said to me in my interview when I was interviewing for the game with Scott, the game director, and he was kind of saying, you can sort of imagine that, because everyone kind of knows about EVE. Most people that play games kind of know what EVE is, and they know about the, world records of the biggest space battles and stuff. And, you can fully imagine a friend of yours being like, oh man, there's this crazy space battle happening in EVE, and that one of the factions are trying to get some guys to go fight on the ground, and you just got to, just come download the client and we can just jump in and be part of this massive space battle. And I would 100% be in straight away for that. And and so to be part of a team that's sort of building towards that grander vision is super exciting, and it's the reason a lot of us are here wearing the jumpers.
It's absolutely fascinating too to be at the ground level and see some of the assets of EVE explored close up. And of course we've been able to zoom in on the ships and EVE Online and sort of see their details, but being able to walk inside of the wreckage of a ship on a map is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning, right? We're already, you'll be seeing in the talk a bit later that we're already now talking about being on inside what we're calling war barges, which is our where Vanguard will fit and eventually trade and socialize and organize themselves, and their bastions as well, which will be kind of virtual spaces, but you'll be able to appear there and see other players, and we're still sort of figuring out what those are going to look like and how they're going to feel inside, but with some really cool concept art that exists now of these huge kind of like almost like cathedral like spaces, like super epic in scale. And then war barges are much more still huge, but slightly smaller than the bastions, but that's where you'll do your sort of manufacturing and your crafting and your fitting, and you can. It's like going to be super exciting to see, and I think players are going to be so excited about that because there's been a few attempts and a lot of a desire for Eve to let people walk around on the spaceships, and we're going to be able to do that quite soon, hopefully.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think like each of these ships, they tell a story that they existed somewhere, and so when they come crashing down, like they have history. They have, like, as I say, stories to tell. There's things to discover, and what just it places it in the universe, and that's a really, really important part of Vanguard. Is it does live in this same universe. This New Eden's been alive for 21 plus years with lots of player-driven stories, and we have the opportunity to tell many, many, many of those stories from the ground amongst these carcasses of ships that have once been in the skies.
For as ambitious as Vanguard has become, or was from the get-go, to be honest, one of the challenges I can see here is crafting a UI that is kind of easy to read, easy to interact with. Like, you have a crafting system in the game, you have map systems in the game, you have all your tools and the things that you can access, the ability to switch your gun around, your mining laser, inventory menus. How do you make that accessible and readable to the player?
It's something that we're working on right now, actually. So in all of our previous releases, we didn't have any kind of onboarding, any kind of tutorialization. We basically just took this pretty complex game and just sort of slid it across the table, and we're like, hey, see what you think, see what you can do with that. And now what we're working on is slowly unveiling these features to players, like in a we want to do it quickly and in sort of in a relatively frictionless way, or as much as frictionless way as is possible, but sort of showing players like where things are and how things should be used, and also simplifying things. So, for example, one of the things we're completely redesigning at the moment is the HUD. Our HUD is a example where we were adding features, adding things that we realized that we needed, adding things that we needed as we realized we needed them, and now obviously we have everything. Now it's like, okay, this is everything that we want. Now let's actually organize it in a way that makes sense. And so that pass hasn't really happened yet. And so I think once we, I mean, we're actually working on it right now. And once it's in the game, I think all of those features will start to sit together a lot in a much nicer way. Because as I said, right now it's like, we built like the basic gunplay, and then we're like, oh, I think we need crafting. So we sort of put crafting in, and then we're like, oh, maybe we need contracts, and so the contracts go in, and so everything's kind of just gone on top of everything else. And now we kind of are happy with the picture, as in that we're happy with the suite of features that we have. So now we just need to arrange them in a nice way.
To wrap things up, like as we come into Eve Fan Fest 2025 with the keynote coming up, and obviously the presentation coming on Saturday, what are you most excited for players to see as they look at the future of Vanguard?
For me, it's Bastions. I mean, there's a ton of cool stuff in there, like weapons, and I think people are going to be really excited about weapons. But I think the bit for me that is the game, that is what Bastions are, because initially we're just going to have one, and players will be part of that Bastion sort of automatically. And then over time we'll introduce like NPC bastions where that will then you'll start to see Bastion v Bastion sort of kind of warfare. But then the really exciting part is when players can make their own bastions, and then the idea of me having my Bastion with all of my 50 or 1,000 players that are a part of that, and you having yours, and then mine's here and yours is here, and the fronts start to overlap with each other, and now we're sort of there's all this sort of politics happening, and and like you say, all this sort of like emergent sort of social stuff that starts to happen. Maybe my Bastion guys start defecting over to your side, or you're trying to recruit them into your Bastion. There's like a ton of just cool stuff, and seeing how that plays out is super exciting. As much as I love weapons and all this kind of other stuff, that's like a really exciting vision of the future, I think.
Add to Bastions is clearly going to be, I think, a crowd pleaser, I think. But yeah, and guns, more guns is going to be good. Like, I'm a gun guy, but just in addition to that, I think some of the work the team are doing with the Unreal Engine, kind of like curated modular maps, it's phenomenal. We're going to be showcasing kind of like more on that with mangrove swamps. Just the ability for the team to bring to life the universe of New Eden from the ground. Like, there is endless. Well, there's 2,700 stars, I think, in the cluster, give or take. But I think there's just so many opportunities for us to bring them to life from a human perspective, like human scale perspective. Yeah, what the team are doing with the Unreal Engine and curated modular mapping is pretty exciting.